Hey everyone, this is the latest LEGO City Ocean Exploration ship set, and as far as I can tell, the ship itself is the largest ship or boat of any sort that they've ever made, at least the longest they've ever made, that actually floats. For the sake of comparison, this is a custom build, but it is built on the previous record holder, previous longest ship mold that they've ever made, unitary hull that they've ever made. And if I line these up stern to stern, you're not going to get a good angle because of where the camera is, but you can see that the old hull is completely hidden by the new, and I can tell you that the new one is like a few inches longer. Now, how did they do it? Easy. They cheated. They took this boat and added another hull to it. The exact same hull, turned around 180 degrees and just connected to the end by a beam going across the deck on either side. There it is, exposed. In addition to the big cheating ship, and I say that with no disrespect, I've been planning on doing the exact same thing myself for a long time. I have two of those hulls. I'm sure plenty of people have done the same thing. But in addition to that, the main ship, you also have a little rubber dinghy back here, small helicopter there, small submersible here, a little bit of sunken pirate ship here, a diving cage for going in the shark-infested waters, a bunch of minifigures. This is actually a new design of shark, and this is a brand new animal. It is a stingray. So let's get right into this. If you haven't seen this stingray before, it's a brand new mold for 2020. Dark tan is the base color, and then that is, I believe, light royal blue that they use for the spots there, and then they've got the eyes on it, a couple of studs on top, and some anti-studs on the underside. You can also use the middle there, kind of works like a jumper on the underside. Plus, it has a couple of bar-sized handles, like hand holds on the sides, so somebody can actually be attached to that, or you can attach something to it if you want to make it look a little bit more like a stingray, rather than just relying on that little bump there. You can actually have a full sting that's actually deployed. It would be a little bit clunky, but something that you can do. And it's got a little bit of waving in its wings, as you can see from the side. Suggestions of gills there as well, with those little bits of plastic that mostly just add to the structural stability of this so that it will last a long time. This whole thing is made of a very hard plastic. The shark is based on the largest shark design that they've made, and they've just added the white. It's not the brightest white, but I think that's just fine for this particular application. This one also has a handhold on the back of the dorsal fin there, a couple of studs on top, a bunch of anti-studs on the underside, and this is large enough to gobble up a minifigure like so. So it can really get all the way in there. And of course the mouth is able to open and close. Look at how much space there is inside. I mean, it's just because it's hollow, but it's usable space. You can actually gobble stuff up. The ship is about 2 feet long, or 63 centimeters. It has just a couple of stickers, one on either side, rather prominent to kind of continue the general graphic design from the previous LEGO City sub-theme of deep sea exploration. And you already saw that this has a huge hole in the middle of it. That gives you very convenient access. I mean, it's a good use of that design. It gives you access to launch stuff in the middle, or to pick things up from the sea, like for example, using this very convenient crane here that's able to slide back and forth and also angle itself up. You can bring that boom all the way up, rotate it around. This is super useful, this crane. You can lower and retrieve the diving cage here, which can hold at least one minifigure, up to 2, depending upon what accessories they have on them in there. And there's also the ability to just lower to winch down to let the hook down, and there's plenty of string on this. So if you're playing with this in the water, you can actually let the object all the way down into the water, and that would be a pretty fun thing for kids playing in a pool, to see the figures around. And then if they actually go underwater, they can take the shark around and, you know, imagine taking pictures or kind of tormenting the figures in there or whatever you want. Other things that you can lower down in there include the submersible, which is actually right now stored on the ship up front in an underdeck hold. But before we get to that, I need to show you the helicopter. I make fun of LEGO City helicopters all the time because so many of them look exactly the same or so close to the same. They basically have two major designs that they keep reusing. This is neither. This is a new design. It's kind of straightforward, but I just appreciate the fact that it uses a different build, especially for the front there. Yeah, it's completely open on the sides, but I just like it. I like the fact that it's different. I like how the main rotor is done as well. Again, something just a little bit different. Do have the tail rotor back here, and yeah, it works. You know, still open this up, put a single figure in there, bring it down. Has the suggestion of a camera over on the side, and that's just that. Maybe you just got a couple of jumpers here on the front to allow that to stay in place so it's not sliding all over the place. But this opens up. This is very super convenient. It's got space down in there for this thing, which surprisingly, in spite of its very small size, is able to hold a minifigure within it. Minifig can just sit right there, and it has a loop back there. So you got these arms that can move around. They can kind of go up and down. You can rotate the hands around. You can grab onto things. It's actually pretty useful. It's actually pretty good. Spin that up. But you got the loop back there, which allows this, I'm going to take the cage off, allows this crane to come around, and it does have enough reach to make it out to there. Hey, that actually lined up pretty well. Didn't even mean to do that. Get that hook right over there, get it going, start to raise this up, and then you can put this, got a little bit stuck right there. My fault, there we go. You can put this onto the water and then just kind of deploy a person. You can imagine that it floats. This, unfortunately, will not actually float in real life, but you see how this works, right? So you do this, you would put it down upon the water, use your hand underneath, or of course, if you're not actually on the water, you don't need to worry about that. But this is where the person would get in, get this crane out of the way now. Or the person might already be in there, and then they just close the hatch, and then this would go and submerge down below. So you're able to deploy it, you're able to pick it back up, put it back in there, and it's a very convenient way to store this. Oftentimes, you know, extra stuff with big builds needs to be stored separately, or it's a little bit awkward. Here, this helicopter locks the top closed, keeps itself in place. It all just works out well. There's also a storage container out here, which I recommend using to hold on to some of your dive equipment. There's nothing in there right now, so we'll be seeing all the accessories separately when we look at the minifigs. You can also just put that up on deck. Not the best spot. They really could have used a better spot for this. Like, you can drop it back here, but then it doesn't really stay. So yeah, that's a little bit lacking. Put it on its side, not really great. I'll just throw it up front. Also, I wanted to point out these little gangways. So when this is up against the dock, now you have a way for your figures to get on and off. It also conveniently hides away the gap between the two hulls that are sheeted together. But it's good. Good design there. On the back here, you have another crane. This is for deploying the life raft or rubber dinghy, or probably rigid hull inflatable boat. And that will actually go all the way down to the water line. You can just drop it off right there. This too, get off there. Whoop. This too will actually float. So the submersible will not float. The helicopter will not float. This will float. Main ship will float. This is simple. It's a basic little thing, but looks really good to me. Kind of harkens back to some of the old golden era, late 80s, early 90s speedboats from Lego, with the way that they did the outboard in red and blue there. Dark blue this time around. But yeah, that goes there. And it just conveniently will be held in place just like that. And then finally, the superstructure is always a big deal to me. So this has some detail on the outside, not a whole lot, but some. You can spin that around. Got the exhaust back there. I mean, this looks pretty respectable. And again, it fits in with the color scheme of the previous from, what was it, 2014, I guess, or 14, 15, something like that. The previous deep sea exploration sub-theme of City. You can deploy these lights out. Then you have a figure standing out here to be checking when they're doing docking maneuvers and such. And you can open up the top. So what I'm going to do is pull all this off so that you can see inside of there conveniently. You can open up the top to put two figures in there to be operating this thing from the bridge. You're not able to take the entire roof off easily. And this is relatively short, thus figures will not actually stand in there. And I totally get that. I'm 100% behind that, having done some custom ships based on Lego's unitary hulls, the ones that actually float. I understand just how much height is really required to make these things look realistic and hold a figure in there. So this is a nice compromise to avoid having to use a ton of parts that would have just caused the whole price to soar. So down inside, 2 seats, wheels, printed consoles, and a thing that's supposed to represent a compass up there. I don't know if that's supposed to be compass or speed or anything, but up there at the top, then you've got speed control in the center. And that's that. Oh, plenty of space to put coffee mugs in there, but only one coffee mug is actually included. And then there are a couple of doors on the back. These open up so you can imagine that your figure is going to walk through there, even though it doesn't quite fit, right? It's close, but it doesn't quite do it. They do give you the suggestion of access to those doors, though. Very happy about that, with just a couple of little ladder steps here. Now, the next level down. Well, berths. Couple of beds, so figures can lay in there. You have 2 figures that are sleeping while 2 are up above on watch and operating the ship. They've also got a little aquarium in there. You can see actually 2 of them. You can see the small sticker that's used on the trans light blue piece. Sorry about that, getting lined up. There's one on the other side. So yeah, that does something. And technically this has 3 levels. So this might be a little bit of a disappointing level, but at least it is usable. Better than nothing, I'll tell you that. Lego's done nothing plenty of times. And down below, there's plenty of room to actually get your figures to stand here or to be sitting. So they've got the computer desk over there. Has a couple of monitors with stickers, and this is a coffee machine or an espresso machine. Another coffee mug, that's good. So this is trying to be like the galley. So you've just got spots for everybody to sit down and have a meeting, a conference, or just eat. So usable space. And finally, against the back wall, another aquarium. And this again uses stickers against trans light blue pieces to give you a little suggestion of detail inside of there. And it's nice, just adds to the ambiance. The last build included with the set is just a bit of sunken ship, old ship, pirate ship, I'm assuming is what they're going for, with the realistic skull painted onto the side of it. Just a little bit of seabed here, a little bit of seaweed. I'm assuming that this is not very deep down in the ocean. It'll be a shallow area. And the idea is that you would find treasure in here. So you see there's not too much to this thing, but open this up and it's kind of slid around, but find some bars of gold. There are a bunch of figures, so we'll go through multiple at a time. Over there on the far right is Handyman Harl Hubbs from the Lego City Adventures animated series, and you'll also find this ship in that series as well. I don't know the names of the other characters or if they have any predetermined roles. I tend to not like predetermined roles, honestly, for especially like city stuff. Kind of make your own choices, though, based on outfits. You can definitely come to some conclusions. Speaking of outfits, there are the other 2 front torso prints. So you can see what those look like, not covered up. Here are a few more, and I do want you to know that the guy in the middle has the exact same torso as Harl Hubbs did, so don't need to take that one off. It's just the same thing repeated. And again, kind of going by the outfits, you can tell that this guy is intended to be the pilot for the helicopter, but just swap the headgear around and you can certainly change that. I'll go ahead and pull this off so you can see what his face looks like. And there's an alternate face there. Some more print around the back of that torso for the diver, and there are things more clearly. Finally, here are a couple more divers with some fancy new equipment with those headgear pieces that are dual molded with the visors built in, and also the suggestions of lights on their heads that are also integrated in there with the little lenses. Doesn't really let any light through there, unfortunately, so kind of just ends up looking dark. But I don't know what the in-universe story is for these to be like on a different team, using the different colors, but they look really cool to me. I appreciate the inclusion of leg prints as well. Old school, only slightly updated, modern takes on the classic air tanks, still in use. Basic design still in use. Yeah, those headgear, the helmets basically, just look really good to me. And they're using the old megaphones to represent undersea lights. There's what the torso looks like on the back, so they have the same, it's shared between the two. Thankfully, even though one is a male character, the other is female, they don't need to have those gender-specific torsos like waistlines and things, so they didn't include them. Thank you, LEGO, for allowing us to swap on whatever faces we want to use, thereby dramatically increasing the usefulness, the reusability, and the Lego-ishness of these torso parts. For such a big set, this is such a disappointingly small collection of spare parts. Nothing really fancy in there beyond the tile and medium nougat, and this is what the sticker sheet looks like when it's all done. To give you an idea of how many stickers are included, these were the two ones that go onto the hull, and most of these up here were used for the aquarium displays. The set retails for $150 US, and the price in the UK and the Eurozone looks to be surprisingly kind for a change, right? They didn't just take the same number and apply it across, or maybe decrease the number of pounds relative to US dollar by 5, like they typically do. So that's at least nice to see. I'll just talk about this from my own perspective, living in the US and having to pay $150 for this. The price to part ratio is atrocious, right? Really, 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 really bad. Lego City is the theme that is the king of super, super high price to part ratios and has been for quite some time. Some of their city sets are amongst the most overpriced sets that they've made in the past decade. That said, the reason that the price to part ratio is so ridiculous for something like this is, of course, because of those hulls, right? Each of those hulls consists of two ginormous pieces, the outside piece, which is the dark blue part here, and then the inside piece, which is the light gray, which also has the interior space. We got the docking spot for the submarine up front, and then the galley and such space back here underneath the bridge. And obviously those are not worth the same as a 1x1 round plate and transclear, like the lens of that camera there. You get it. I feel like the value here is I do wish it was cheaper. I will say that, because of the big hole in the middle. Now that big hole in the middle is used well, and what goes over that big hole is very good. But I would feel much happier with this if it didn't have the big hole, if it actually had storage space and some stuff to put in that storage space. Just to increase the total volume of stuff. I think that in the Eurozone and the UK, the price is fine. I'm happy with that. That looks pretty good to me. In the US, feels a little bit overpriced, but this is a very special set. It's so huge. The fact that it actually floats is going to be a huge bonus to folks with kids and a pool. Huge, huge bonus there. Or big bathtub or whatever. You need a big bathtub for this. Just a regular size one. I don't know, this is going to take up like half the tub just by itself, But yeah, if I was a kid and I got this thing, I would be so happy. I would be more than $150 worth of happy. And as an adult looking at it, someone who likes Lego City, someone who likes undersea, deep sea exploration stuff in general, those themes, I do very much respect and appreciate a lot of the design work that went into this. This is not an adult collector's set. It should not be designed for adult collectors. But me, as an adult collector, looking at it, evaluating it, looking at it as a toy, me being a big kid, liking Lego, you get it, right? Just being realistic. The helicopter, thank you, Lego, for making a different design. But still, it's just a helicopter. Holds one person. This is great. That spot there, and you can put different stuff in there. And there's room on the deck as well. Plenty of room to put figures around this. I do wish that they had some studs across this center section to be able to hold some figures there. Yeah, you know, kind of looking over the edge. The crane is great because it works. It just works. It slides back and forth. It has so much room, so much range. This boom can go vertical. You can see the mechanism there a little bit. It can rotate around, but it doesn't stand out too much. It's not like a sore thumb kind of standing out. It's more like, oh, look at that gearbox, and I can watch the gears move. That's cool. The way they did the superstructure, ace. Seriously, very, very good job there. Again, me having done multiple this-ish scale, you know, large-ish scale ships based on Lego unitary hulls, spending most of my time working on the superstructures and figuring out the proportions and everything. I can tell you, it's not easy to do it right and to do it efficiently. This is able to hold 2 people in there. I do wish that the whole roof could come off. It would make it easier to get access, but it's not bad as it is. And the decision to limit it to folks who are sitting down is fine. This is just a bonus level. It's kind of weak, right? It only holds 2 people, but it does hold 2 people. They have to be laying down, but it is usable. This is usable space. They could have easily made this just a little bit taller, like that much taller. Then figures could have stood in here, but then you wouldn't have had this accommodation. This is a nice little bonus, and it includes the little wings off to the side. And then the space down below, not super detailed, more detailed than it needs to be, more detailed than that type of space usually is on Lego ships. You don't have a suggestion of an engine in this one. They like to put engine detail down in a rear hold sort of area like that. Instead, they've got all these accommodations for figures to be doing things and enjoying themselves. And there's even enough floor space for them to be actually standing around. So that's good. And then back here, the little crane for the dinghy, rigid hull, inflatable boat back here, works. Takes you all the way down to the water level so you can actually deploy this thing, or you can actually pick it up and then it just comes in. It's so convenient. That holds easily 2 figures. You can probably make more than that fit on there. So all the design work here is good. This is, it's just a little add-on. It's nothing, you know, no big deal, but it adds some value. Of course, I like new animals. So just overall, I feel like this is a really good set. Do feel like I wish the price was a little bit lower in the US, but at least it is a fair amount lower elsewhere. So it kind of balances things off karmatically, I think. If you want to see how this went together, it's not as long as a build as the ship itself is. You know, obviously with, you know, a limited number of pieces for its size, but I've got the real-time build up. I also have the speed build, so check out one of those if you'd like to. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you again soon.